Told you I could build stuff with my boulders. That's... That's better. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to talk about the Boulder. The Boulder is my favorite deck box, and I haven't talked about it in a while, and they've made some changes as well as added some new products. And to not bury the lead, the Boulder is still my favorite deck box for the 40, 60, and 80 plus sizes. It just works so well for me in those configurations. I really like them. And while we've seen some competitors come on the scene with similar sizes like the Bastion 50 plus, these just are the perfect sizing for me right now. I really like how they are designed, and yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's back up. Now, before I go any further, I did want to mention some things that I forgot to mention when I was doing my Bastion review video a couple of months ago. I forgot to mention some things in that video, and I want to rectify that now. The first item that I wanted to mention was the soft touch. I mentioned that it peeled, but I did not mention that there are other options. Go ahead and get a clear version. Again, this is one of my favorite, is the clear version of the deck box. Or some of their new offerings, which I'll get into a little bit more in the rest of the video, have a solid opaque plastic for it. And then there's also the Return to Earth versions of the box, which have a completely opaque, non-soft touch finish on them. So I did forget to mention those finishes. I also forgot to mention the 133 Plus in that video, which I should have, but I forgot. But I will be talking more about the 133 later on in the video. And to get it out of the way, the majority of these boulders that you see in this video were purchased by me. And I have more. I actually have multiple battle boxes that are filled with boulders. Yeah, I have more of these suckers, and most of them were purchased by me. There were some that were given to me by Ultimate Guard, but a majority of these were purchased by me. And I continue to buy boulders, and I will probably continue to buy more until my wife takes away my credit card. Let's recap the options of boulder that you can now pick up. First, we have the 40, 60, and 80 plus, which I mentioned earlier in the video. The 40 plus can fit 40 double-sleeved cards. It can fit probably a couple more. I like it for things like Flesh and Blood Blitz decks, Jumpstart decks that you put together when you put together the two packs. There's a lot more options than you would think for the 40 plus size, especially if you move outside of Magic. I do like using these for draft if I don't have enough room for a draft kit. This is good for a draft deck, and some of your sideboard, at least the sideboard that you're going to use, can usually fit in a 40 plus and keep it in a nice compact space if you don't have a lot of room for a draft kit. The 60 plus, if I'm being honest, is my favorite size of deck box because I don't play a lot of competitive Magic, therefore I don't need a sideboard. All of my modern decks, all of my Pioneer decks, all of my Legacy decks are in a 60 plus because, again, I don't play competitive Magic, so I don't need space for the sideboard. And this is just a perfect, compact little box that works wonderful. Now, I do want to point something out. This, I believe, is one of the earlier generations of the 60 plus. I've had this for almost 5 years now. It has seen some things. In the earlier generations of the 60 plus is that these would crack or break a lot easier. I believe they have fixed that. That is no longer the case, and you shouldn't have to worry about them anymore. In fact, I have a newer one, and the nubs, I have been using this pretty heavily, and the nubs are fine. So the new 60 pluses are fine. You are good to go. You don't have to worry about the nubs cracking anymore. And I've done a lot of testing on the new ones, so they're working quite well at this point. This is the basic standard boulder that you could get, and it is an 80 plus. This is perfect for competitive Magic. Let me try that again without... This is perfect for competitive Magic because you can fit your 60 plus a sideboard in here. Again, one of my favorite boxes. Anytime I am playing competitive, because I do from time to time, it's not often, but anytime I do play in a competitive event, I use an 80 plus for my deck. And if I do build a competitive deck, it usually lives in an 80 plus. I love the form factor, the small, compact, barely bigger than the deck itself. I really like that form factor. So these are 3 options that you can get, and then you have your standard. I just can't pick one because there's just so many. But now we have the Boulder 100 Plus. This is the mainstay. This is the one that we all know and is probably the most popular boulder, especially considering that seems to be the version they keep updating. And that is the 100 Plus, and it makes sense. Commander is the most popular Magic format, and Magic being the largest, if not one of the largest trading card games in every market it exists in, it makes sense that this would be the most popular box that they sold, especially because you can use this not only for Commander decks, you can use this for competitive decks. You put a 60 card deck and a 15 card sideboard with tokens. If you have a competitive deck that has a lot of tokens to it, a 100 Plus will serve you fine. Now I want to get this out of the way. A lot of people are not able to fit a 100 card double sleeved Commander deck into a Boulder 100 Plus. In my testing, I have been able to fit a 100 card double sleeved deck in a Boulder 100 Plus if you use Dragon Shield outer sleeves and KMC Perfect Fits. If you do KMC Perfect Fits, they'll fit. This also works with Ultimate Guard Cortex as well as Ultimate Guard Katanas. I also tested it with the Heavy Play sleeves. That works as well, in addition to the Ultra Pro Apex sleeves and the Eclipse sleeves. So as long as you use KMC Perfect Fits and your deck isn't full of foils, it should fit in the Boulder 100 Plus. But if you use the Dragon Shield inner sleeves, it won't fit. So that seems to be the key. If you want to use your boulders, get the KMC Perfect Fits instead of the Dragon Shield. Just something to note. Now we have different versions of the boulder. You have the soft touch boulder right here. You also have the clear version. I'm just going to set this over here. That's a version. I like that version a lot. You have your dual color version, so you want your Rakdos deck in a black and red box. Here you go. You don't have to buy 2 boulders to do that. We also have the Druidic boulders that have soft touch on the top and the hard opaque plastic here on the bottom, and it has a nice little design in there. I like these a lot as well. They also have the Return to Earth boulders that have been around for a little bit. These are boulders that are made of biodegradable material. When they do eventually go into the landfill, they will biodegrade. The Boulder 100 Plus is still aces in my book. I will continue to use the ones I have and purchase more so I can continue using these for my decks and also for building stuff like a boulder fort. And these are the 2 new versions of boulders made in the USA version of the boulder. So this boulder is made in the United States and it is of a complete opaque plastic. And I really like them. It's kind of a slightly different flavor of a meal I really like, so there's not a ton for me to say about it other than the fact that I really do like it. It also is the same dimensions as the other boulders, so the same is true for the KMC Perfect Fit inner sleeves, and I really like it. It works just like any other boulder. If the fact that it is made in the United States by US workers, and that's something that matters to you, then here we go. We have our Freedom Boulder right here that you are able to purchase. Okay, now the other boulder that I wanted to talk about today that they have released since the last time I've talked about the boulder, and that is the 133 Plus. This one in particular is a Return to Earth 133 Plus. I have another one. This one's purple. I like it. Now the 133 Plus, as the name would indicate, can hold 133 double-sleeved cards. A little bit more in my testing. I was able to get about 140, 145. Again, with KMC Perfect Fits. I don't actually like the Dragon Shields for the very reason that I can't fit Commander decks in a Boulder 100 Plus with Dragon Shield, so I just use KMC Perfect Fits for that reason. The 133 Plus obviously can hold a Commander deck that is double sleeved. It cannot hold a triple sleeve deck. It's still a little tight. The triple sleeve deck is just kind of bananas, in my opinion. It just doesn't, those things are huge, and if you're doing that, hey, I'm more power to you. But yeah, triple sleeve deck, doesn't fit in here, but that's fine with me because I don't triple sleeve. It also can fit any tokens. So again, if you have a Commander deck full of tokens, yeah, this thing will do you fine. And again, it's Return to Earth. So again, when it makes its way into a landfill, it will biodegrade, which is a nice feature for me. I like that. One place where this deck box shines is using it as a tray to hold your Commander deck. I really like doing this with my Commander decks, using my deck box to keep the commander deck kind of held together. That way it keeps it sturdy, especially if you're using a sleeve that is a little slippy, like the Dragon Shield dual mats tend to be sometimes. When you double sleeve a commander deck like that, it tends to want to fall all over the place. Your deck box like this can hold it, and I like the extra space, makes it so it's easier to manage while you're playing your game. And also, if you bump it, you're not going to have cards all over the table and the floor. So what can these fit in? Well, you can fit 3 of these in an Archive 400 plus. You can fit 6 of these in an Archive 800 plus, and that's exactly 6, exactly 3. There is no room left over for anything else, but it's nice. It's kind of nice to not jostling around. In a Dungeon 550 plus, you can fit 4 of these exactly. In a Dungeon 1100 plus, you can fit 8 exactly. Again, no extra space, tight fit, but it works, and that's kind of nice. The Omni Hive is the outlier in this. You can only fit 6 of these in the Omni Hive. You do have extra space that you can fit a Boulder 100 plus as well. So each row would have 3 of these and a Boulder 100 plus. So 6 of these, 2 Boulder 100 pluses. That's a lot of cards. And again, that's assuming you don't have the dice trays in there as well. These also do fit in an academic. You don't have a lot of room otherwise, but you can fit 1 of these in an academic with a little extra space. That's an option too. Now, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't nitpicking. I do like the 133 plus, but there are a couple of things that I'm not thrilled with. The first is it's a little too big. It's just a shade too big. Why do I say that? In a regular boulder, when you are putting cards into the boulder and they fall over, they hit the front of the deck box and they sit there and they're still easily accessible. You can grab them, you can put more cards on them. It's a nice size. The regular Boulder 100 Plus is a nice size for this purpose. It makes it that the cards just kind of hit the front of the deck box. I wouldn't really call it a feature. I would just call it a thing that it does with the box. With the 133 Plus, if you knock it over, bye-bye. There it is in the bottom of the box. I know the sleeves are blue to be more illustrative. There's the cards, flat, full. The bottom of the box is, frankly, the perfect size for a double-sleeved card, and I don't like that. But it's easy to get around. You can use those expanding dividers or something like that to keep them straight up if that's something that bothers you. The only other thing about this box that I don't love, it can get scratched. If it gets pulled along, it gets like these chalky scratches. It's really hard to see. I'll try to see if I can get a good shot of it in the video, in the B-roll, where you'll see extra markings and things from this getting scraped along a surface. And again, it doesn't affect the integrity of the box. Overall, I like the 133 Plus. Well, full disclosure, had a bit of a whoopsie while I was doing some testing to see what these 133 pluses fit in. I dropped this one and it was empty. It was sitting on top of some other boulders at my standing desk. It got bumped off and fell directly onto hard concrete. And I don't know if you can see that right there. It has got a big old crack right there. Right at the corner. So it got a big old crack on it. And I am super disappointed. To be fair, it was empty. I have a strong feeling if this was full of cards, it probably wouldn't have cracked because all of the cardboard inside would have helped absorb the force of the hit. So be aware of that. That being said, this is the first Boulder 80 plus I ever purchased. The first boulder I ever purchased. I have hucked this at brick walls. I have dropped it. I have tossed it up into the air and had it land on concrete, and it's still fine. That being said, every time I did that, cards were inside it. And I've done it with cards inside. The cards have always been fine. They haven't even got a ding on them. But I also think that they helped keep the box safe. I think they helped absorb the impact and made it so the box didn't crack. This didn't have any cards in it, so it cracked. I'm not a materials engineer. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be way off, but that is my guess. I didn't feel right putting out this review of the 133 Plus, as well as the other boulders, without mentioning that one of my 133 pluses broke in the process of making this video. But believe me, I am super bummed about this. I hate it. And I have so many. I don't know why I'm so upset about this one boulder, but I am. I guess I'm just disappointed. Will I start replacing all my Boulder 100s with 133 pluses? No, I'm not. I like the 100 plus, and while I like this, I like the 100 plus just as much. You can fit more of them in your bag or your larger deck box. I still like these, and I'm still going to use them. Again, especially for commander decks that have a lot of tokens in them. And another thing too to think about is you could fit two 60 card decks in these as well. There's just a lot of options, and this is yet another option that you can use to protect your cards. Dusting on my pants, dust in my pants. Why? Oh, because you're full of cards. We need to uncard you. But now we have the mainstay, the Boulder